The Untold Secrets of Ancient Civilizations. Chapter 1. The Lost City of Atlantis. Truth Behind the Legend. What if I told you that one of history's greatest mysteries might not be a myth at all? What if the legendary city of Atlantis, the magnificent civilization that supposedly sank beneath the waves in a single day and night, actually existed? For over 2,000 years, scholars, explorers, and dreamers have searched for this lost paradise. Some say it's merely a fable, a story invented by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato to make a philosophical point. But others believe that beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean, or perhaps in some other unexpected location, lie the ruins of a civilization so advanced that it would reshape everything we think we know about human history. Welcome to Mysterious History, where we dive deep into the secrets that time has tried to bury. Today, we embark on an extraordinary journey to uncover the truth behind the legend of Atlantis. The original account. Our story begins in ancient Athens around 360 BCE in the writings of the philosopher Plato. In two of his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato describes a powerful island civilization that existed approximately 9,000 years before his own time. According to Plato, this information came from Egyptian priests who had preserved records of this ancient world. The Atlantis that Plato described was nothing short of magnificent. He wrote of a circular island larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we know today as the Strait of Gibraltar. The civilization that flourished there was extraordinarily advanced. They had constructed massive buildings adorned with gold, silver, and a mysterious metal called orichalcum. Their engineering achievements included an intricate system of canals that connected the sea to their inner city. The Atlanteans, according to Plato, were originally a noble and powerful race descended from the god Poseidon himself. They possessed great wisdom and virtue, living in harmony with divine laws. Their military might was unmatched, and their empire extended over parts of Africa and Europe. But as generations passed, something changed within the Atlantean people. The divine portion of their nature began to fade, diluted for frequent intermixture with mortal stock. They became infected with greed, corruption, and an insatiable hunger for power. The very virtues that had made them great were replaced by arrogance and moral decay. Zeus, the king of the gods, observed this transformation with growing displeasure. According to Plato's account, Zeus decided that punishment was necessary to teach the Atlanteans a lesson. He gathered the other gods to determine the fate of this once great civilization. And then, in what Plato describes as a single day and night of misfortune, catastrophe struck. Violent earthquakes shook the island. The sea rose up and swallowed the land. In mere hours, the magnificent civilization of Atlantis disappeared beneath the waves, leaving no trace of its existence. The most advanced society the ancient world had ever known simply vanished from the face of the earth. Historical search for Atlantis. For centuries after Plato's time, scholars debated whether Atlantis was real or merely an elaborate philosophical allegory. Plato's student Aristotle reportedly believed the story was fiction, famously stating that Plato alone made Atlantis appear and then made it disappear, but many others took the tale seriously. During the Middle Ages, interest in Atlantis remained alive through various texts and traditions. When European explorers discovered the New World in the late 15th century, speculation intensified. Some wondered if the New World might be connected to the lost continent. Francis Bacon's 1627 work, New Atlantis, imagined a utopian society on an undiscovered island, keeping the legend alive in popular imagination. The 19th century saw an explosion of interest in Atlantis. In 1882, former U.S. Congressman Ignatius Donnelly published Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, a book that became wildly popular and influenced generations of Atlantis researchers. Donnelly argued that Atlantis was the original source of all ancient civilizations and that survivors of its destruction had spread across the globe, carrying their advanced knowledge with them. Possible locations. Modern researchers have proposed dozens of possible locations for Atlantis, each supported by various evidence and theories. The most straightforward interpretation places Atlantis in the Atlantic Ocean, exactly where Plato said it was. Some researchers point to underwater structures near the Azores, the Canary Islands, or even the Caribbean as potential evidence. One of the most compelling alternative theories connects Atlantis to the Minoan civilization of Crete and the volcanic island of Thera, known today as Santorini. Around 1600 BCE, Thera experienced one of the largest volcanic eruptions in human history. The explosion was catastrophic, sending massive tsunamis across the Mediterranean and potentially devastating the Minoan civilization. The parallels are striking. The Minoans were an advanced Bronze Age civilization with sophisticated art, architecture, and engineering. They had a powerful naval fleet and extensive trade networks, and their decline coincided with a natural catastrophe of almost unimaginable proportions. Could the destruction of Thera have inspired the legend of Atlantis, passed down through generations until it reached the ears of Egyptian priests and eventually Plato himself? Underwater discoveries. Recent advances in underwater archaeology and ocean mapping technology have revealed intriguing discoveries that continue to fuel the Atlantis debate. In 2001, a team of researchers claimed to have found evidence of man-made structures off the coast of Cuba, lying at depths of over 2,000 feet. Sonar images appeared to show what looked like pyramids, roads, and buildings arranged in an organized pattern. Similarly, the Bimini Road, a formation of rectangular limestone blocks lying beneath the waters near the Bahamas, has attracted attention since its discovery in 1968. While many geologists maintain that the formation is natural, others argue that the precise arrangement of the blocks suggests human construction. In the Mediterranean, underwater archaeologists have discovered numerous submerged cities and ports, proving that rising sea levels and geological changes have indeed claimed many ancient settlements. The city of Heraklion, once a thriving Egyptian port, lay hidden beneath the waters of the Abu Qir Bay for over 1,000 years before its discovery in 2000. Modern science tells us what about the possibility of Atlantis. Geologists generally agree that there is no evidence for a large landmass sinking in the Atlantic Ocean during the time frame Plato described. The movement of tectonic plates occurs over millions of years, far too slowly to account for a sudden catastrophic event. However, we know that sea levels have risen significantly since the end of the last ice age, approximately 12,000 years ago. During this period, vast areas of land that were once inhabited are now underwater. The Persian Gulf, for example, was once a fertile river valley before rising seas transformed it into the body of water we know today. Could advanced civilizations have existed during this period, only to be destroyed by rising waters and forgotten by history? The discovery of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a complex of massive stone monuments dating back more than 11,000 years, proves that organized societies capable of monumental construction existed far earlier than previously believed. The deeper meaning. Perhaps the most important question about Atlantis is not whether it literally existed, but what the legend represents. Plato's story is fundamentally a moral tale about the corruption of power and the consequences of abandoning virtue. The Atlanteans fell not because of external enemies, but because of their own moral failings. This theme resonates throughout human history. we have witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, from the Roman Empire to the Maya, from the Khmer to the Ming. In each case, the seeds of destruction were often planted from within, through corruption, overreach, and abandonment of founding principles. Whether Atlantis was a real place or a powerful metaphor, its story continues to captivate us because it speaks to something fundamental about human nature. We dream of golden ages and lost paradises, of civilizations that achieved what we have not, and we fear that what happened to them could happen to us. Chapter conclusion. The mystery of Atlantis may never be fully solved. Perhaps one day advanced technology will reveal definitive evidence of a lost civilization beneath the waves. Perhaps we will discover that the legend was inspired by real events, transformed.
Rising from the golden sands of the Giza Plateau, gazing eternally toward the eastern horizon, stands one of the most enigmatic monuments ever created by human hands. The Great Sphinx of Giza has watched over Egypt for thousands of years, a silent guardian keeping secrets that we may never fully understand. With the body of a lion and the face of a king, this colossal statue has inspired wonder, speculation, and countless theories about its true origin and purpose. Who built the Sphinx? When was it constructed? And most intriguingly, what secrets might be hidden beneath its massive stone paws? These questions have puzzled researchers for centuries, and the answers we have found often lead only to deeper mysteries. Welcome back to Mysterious History. Today, we turn our attention to the Great Sphinx and the extraordinary secrets it may hold. Before we delve into the mysteries, let us appreciate the sheer magnitude of this ancient monument. The Great Sphinx is the largest monolithic statue in the world, carved from a single ridge of limestone bedrock. It stretches approximately 240 feet long and stands nearly 66 feet high at its tallest point. The face alone measures over 13 feet wide. Unlike the pyramids, which were built from millions of individual stone blocks, the Sphinx was carved directly from the living rock of the Giza Plateau. This required an entirely different approach to construction. Workers had to remove an estimated 200,000 tons of stone from around the figure to reveal the sculpture within. The monument combines the body of a reclining lion with a human head, wearing the nemes headdress traditionally associated with Egyptian pharaohs. Originally, the Sphinx also featured a ceremonial beard and a cobra emblem on its forehead, though these have long since been lost to time and weathering. According to mainstream Egyptology, the Great Sphinx was built during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, who ruled Egypt during the 4th dynasty, approximately 4,500 years ago. Khafre is also credited with building the second largest pyramid at Giza, which stands directly behind the Sphinx. This attribution is based primarily on circumstantial evidence. The Sphinx sits within Khafre's pyramid complex, and its face appears to resemble known depictions of the pharaoh. A small temple located directly in front of the Sphinx is architecturally similar to Khafre's Valley Temple. Additionally, a granite stela erected between the Sphinx's paws by Pharaoh Thutmose IV, who ruled about 1,000 years after Khafre, mentions Khafre's name in a damaged portion of the text. However, no contemporary inscription from the 4th dynasty definitively identifies who ordered the Sphinx's construction. Unlike many other Egyptian monuments, which are covered with hieroglyphic texts naming their builders, the Sphinx itself is completely silent about its origins. In the early 1990s, a controversy erupted that challenged everything Egyptologists believed about the Sphinx's age. John Anthony West, an independent researcher, and Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University, proposed a theory that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Schoch examined the erosion patterns on the Sphinx and its enclosure walls and made a startling observation. The weathering on the limestone showed vertical fissures and undulating surfaces consistent with erosion by rainfall, not wind and sand. But there was a problem with this conclusion. Egypt has been an arid desert for thousands of years. The last period of significant rainfall in the region ended between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago, during a climate shift known as the end of the African humid period. If the erosion on the Sphinx was caused by water, the monument would have to be considerably older than the accepted date of construction. Schoch initially suggested that the Sphinx could date back between 5,000 and 7,000 BCE, making it potentially twice as old as mainstream Egyptology claims. Some researchers have pushed this date back even further, suggesting the Sphinx could be as old as 10,000 years or more. The water erosion theory was met with fierce resistance from mainstream Egyptologists. Critics argued that Schoch and West were geologists without expertise in archaeology and that they had misinterpreted the evidence. Various alternative explanations were proposed for the weathering patterns. Some suggested that the erosion could have been caused by wet sand, by groundwater seeping through the limestone, or by acid rain. Others pointed out that the limestone at Giza has different layers of varying hardness, which could create unusual erosion patterns. Zahi Hawass, the former head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, dismissed the water erosion theory entirely, calling it impossible and contrary to all archaeological evidence. He maintained that the Sphinx was definitively built by Khafre in the 4th dynasty. The debate continues to this day, with passionate advocates on both sides. What everyone agrees on is that the erosion patterns on the Sphinx are unusual and deserve further study. Perhaps no mystery associated with the Sphinx captures the imagination more than the legendary Hall of Records. According to various traditions and prophecies, a secret chamber lies hidden somewhere beneath the Sphinx, containing the accumulated wisdom of an ancient civilization. The most famous source for this legend is the American psychic Edgar Cayce, who in the 1930s gave readings describing a hidden vault containing historical records from Atlantis. Cayce claimed that survivors of the Atlantean catastrophe had traveled to Egypt, where they built the Sphinx and the pyramids and deposited their records for future generations to discover. Remarkably, scientific surveys have detected anomalies beneath the Sphinx that could potentially be cavities or chambers. In 1991, a team using ground-penetrating radar and seismic equipment found evidence of what appeared to be a rectangular chamber beneath the front paws of the Sphinx. Another survey in 1996 detected multiple cavities around and beneath the monument. However, Egyptian authorities have not permitted extensive excavation to investigate these anomalies. The reason given is concern for the stability of the monument, though some researchers suspect other motivations. The face of the Sphinx has generated its own set of mysteries and controversies. While mainstream Egyptology identifies the face as that of Pharaoh Khafre, others have disagreed. Some researchers have noted that the face appears disproportionately small compared to the massive body, suggesting it may have been recarved from an original larger head. Could the Sphinx have originally depicted something else entirely, perhaps a lion's head to match its lion's body? Some have speculated that the head was reduced in size and reshaped when the face became damaged, or when a later pharaoh wanted to put his own likeness on the ancient monument. In 1993, Detective Frank Domingo, a senior forensic artist with the New York Police Department, compared the face of the Sphinx to known statues of Khafre. Using forensic analysis techniques, Domingo concluded that the two faces belonged to different individuals. The proportions, angles, and features did not match what would be expected if they represented the same person. Other researchers have suggested that the face may depict different pharaohs, or perhaps represent an idealized divine image rather than any specific ruler. The Sphinx faces due east toward the rising sun. This orientation has led researchers to investigate possible astronomical alignments that might reveal hidden meanings or purposes. Authors Graham Hancock and Robert Bauval proposed that the Sphinx, together with the three Great Pyramids, forms part of an elaborate astronomical map. They noted that around 10,500 DCE, the constellation Leo would have risen directly in the east at dawn during the spring equinox, perfectly aligned with the Sphinx's gaze. Since the Sphinx has a lion's body, this could represent a deliberate correlation between the monument and its celestial counterpart. Furthermore, Hancock and Bauval argued that the three pyramids of Giza are arranged to mirror the three stars of Orion's belt, and that this pattern would have been most accurate around the same date of 10,500 BCE. They suggest that the entire Giza complex was designed to mark this specific point in time, which coincides with the beginning of a new precessional cycle. These theories remain highly controversial and are rejected by mainstream Egyptologists, but they have captured the imagination of millions and inspired ongoing research into the astronomical knowledge of ancient civilizations. Despite all our modern technology and centuries of study, the Sphinx continues to guard its secrets. We still do not know with absolute certainty who built it or when. We cannot explain all of its unusual features, and we have not been permitted to fully explore what might lie beneath it. The Sphinx is a reminder that even the most impressive human achievements are temporary. This magnificent statue has already survived far longer than most of our modern buildings will last. Yet even it is slowly crumbling, returning grain by grain to the desert from which it was carved. The Great Sphinx of Giza remains one of history's most profound enigmas. It stands as a testament to human ingenuity and ambition, yet we cannot say with certainty who created it or why. It has watched over the Egyptian desert for thousands of years, keeping its secrets as faithfully as any guardian. Perhaps one day new discoveries will answer our questions. Perhaps hidden chambers will be found, containing records that rewrite our understanding of ancient history. Or perhaps the Sphinx will maintain its eternal silence, challenging future generations to solve the same mysteries that puzzle us today. In our next chapter, we travel to the Great Pyramid of Giza itself, exploring the incredible engineering achievements of the ancient Egyptians and the mysteries that still surround this last remaining wonder of the ancient world. Stay with us on Mysterious History. The Great Pyramid, engineering the impossible. It is the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. It held the record as the tallest man-made structure on Earth for nearly 4,000 years. And despite centuries of study by archaeologists, engineers, and scientists, we still cannot fully explain how it was built. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as humanity's most impressive architectural achievement, a monument so precisely constructed that modern engineers marvel at its accuracy. Consider these numbers. Approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, with some blocks exceeding 70 tons. The 4 sides of the base are aligned to the 4 cardinal points of the compass with an accuracy of less than 4 minutes of arc. The entire structure covers an area of over 13 acres and rises to a height of nearly 481 feet. How did people living over 4,000 years ago, without modern tools, cranes, or computers, achieve such incredible precision? This is the mystery at the heart of the Great Pyramid, and the answers may be more surprising than you expect. According to mainstream Egyptology, the Great Pyramid was built as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu, who ruled Egypt during the 4th dynasty, approximately 2,500 years before the Common Era. The construction project is believed to have taken around 20 years, employing a workforce that may have numbered in the tens of thousands. The traditional theory proposes that workers quarried limestone blocks from nearby sources and transported them to the construction site using wooden sledges and rollers. The massive granite blocks that form the King's Chamber were quarried at Aswan, over 500 miles to the south, and transported by boat down the Nile. As for how the blocks were raised into position, the most widely accepted theory involves some form of ramping system. A straight ramp extending from ground level to the top of the pyramid would have required an enormous amount of material and an impractically gentle slope. Alternative theories propose spiral ramps, internal ramps, or a combination of different techniques used at various stages of construction. Despite decades of research, no definitive evidence has been found that conclusively proves how the pyramid was actually built. Precision that defies explanation. What truly sets the Great Pyramid apart is not just its size, but its extraordinary precision. The base of the pyramid is almost perfectly level, with a variation of less than 1 inch across a distance of over 750 feet. The corners are nearly perfect right angles, with a deviation of only about 12 seconds of arc. The internal chambers display even more remarkable craftsmanship. The King's Chamber is constructed from enormous blocks of red granite, precisely fitted together without mortar. The sarcophagus inside the chamber appears to have been cut from a single block of granite, with a precision that would be challenging to achieve even with modern tools. Some researchers have examined the drill marks on granite blocks at Giza and calculated that the tools used must have been capable of cutting through stone at rates that seem impossible with the copper and bronze technology available at the time. Did the ancient Egyptians possess advanced tools or techniques that we know nothing about? Internal structure. The Great Pyramid contains a complex system of internal passages and chambers that remain partially unexplained. The main entrance on the north face leads to a descending passage that plunges downward into the bedrock beneath the pyramid, ending in a rough, unfinished chamber whose purpose is unclear. Higher up, the Grand Gallery rises at a steep angle toward the King's Chamber. This magnificent corridor is over 150 feet long and nearly 30 feet high, with walls that corbel inward as they rise. The purpose of this impressive space remains debated, though various theories suggest it may have been used for storage, for astronomical observations, or as part of the construction process itself. In 1872, engineer Wayman Dixon discovered 2 small shafts in the Queen's Chamber, similar to the shafts in the King's Chamber that were already known. Unlike the King's Chamber shafts, which extend to the outside of the pyramid, the Queen's Chamber shafts were blocked by stone doors. In 1993, a robot camera sent up one of these shafts discovered a small door with copper fittings. When another robot drilled through this door in 2002, it found another blocking stone behind it. What lies at the end of these shafts? Why were they sealed? These questions remain unanswered. Theories of unknown chambers. Since the early 19th century, researchers have speculated that the Great Pyramid may contain additional chambers that have never been discovered. The known chambers occupy only a tiny fraction of the pyramid's vast interior volume, leading many to wonder what else might be hidden within. In 2017, an international team of scientists announced a major discovery. Using a technique called cosmic ray muon tomography, they detected a large void within the pyramid, located above the Grand Gallery. This cavity appears to be at least 100 feet long, comparable in size to the Grand Gallery itself. The purpose of this void is unknown. It could be an undiscovered chamber, or it could be an architectural feature related to the pyramid's construction process. Egyptian authorities have been cautious about further investigation, concerned about potential damage to the monument. Other researchers have used ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging to detect additional anomalies that might represent hidden chambers or passages. The mystery of what the Great Pyramid might still be hiding continues to drive new investigations. Alternative theories. The conventional explanation that the Great Pyramid was built by Egyptian workers using simple tools and human labor has been questioned by various researchers who find it inadequate to explain the monument's achievements. Some have proposed that the ancient Egyptians possessed advanced technology that has been lost or suppressed, including sophisticated machines, acoustic levitation devices, or even extraterrestrial assistance. While mainstream scholars dismiss such theories, they persist in popular culture and alternative research communities. A more measured alternative comes from researchers who argue that the pyramid is considerably older than the accepted date of construction.
Proponents of this view point to evidence such as water erosion on the Sphinx and the sophisticated astronomical alignments of the Giza complex as indicators of a more ancient origin. Others have challenged the pyramid's identification as a tomb. No mummy has ever been found in the Great Pyramid, and some researchers argue that its internal features are inconsistent with tomb design. Alternative theories propose that the pyramid may have been a power plant, an astronomical observatory, or a device for initiation ceremonies. The mathematical mysteries. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Great Pyramid is the mathematical relationships embedded in its dimensions. Whether by design or coincidence, the pyramid's measurements encode various mathematical constants and relationships. The ratio of the pyramid's perimeter to its height is approximately twice pi, the fundamental constant relating a circle's circumference to its diameter. The ratio of the pyramid's height to half its base length corresponds to the golden ratio phi, a proportion that appears throughout nature and has been used in art and architecture for millennia. Some researchers have gone further, claiming to find correlations between the pyramid's dimensions and the size of the Earth, the distance to the Sun, the speed of light, and other universal constants. While skeptics argue that with enough manipulation, any set of measurements can be made to yield meaningful seeming numbers, others maintain that the correspondences are too precise and too numerous to be coincidental. The workforce. Contrary to popular belief, modern evidence suggests that the Great Pyramid was not built by slaves, but by a workforce of skilled laborers and conscripted farmers. Excavations near Giza have revealed the remains of a workers' village, including bakeries, breweries, medical facilities, and cemeteries. Analysis of the workers' remains shows evidence of good nutrition, medical care, and proper burial, inconsistent with the treatment expected for slaves. Many appear to have been permanent workers who dedicated their lives to the construction project, while others were seasonal laborers who may have worked on the pyramid as a form of tax payment. The organization required to coordinate such a massive construction project implies a sophisticated bureaucracy and planning capability. Food, tools, and materials had to be sourced and transported from across Egypt. Workers had to be housed, fed, and organized. The logistics alone represent an impressive achievement. Yet, even acknowledging the organizational capabilities of ancient Egypt, questions remain about how the actual physical construction was accomplished with the tools and technology of the time. Lasting impact. The Great Pyramid has inspired humanity for over 4,000 years. Ancient Greek travelers wrote of it with awe. Medieval Arab scholars attempted to understand its purpose. Napoleon's armies camped in its shadow. And today, millions of tourists visit Giza each year to experience its majesty. The pyramid's influence extends far beyond tourism. It has inspired countless architects, artists, and designers. It appears in literature, film, and popular culture around the world, and it continues to drive scientific research, as each new technology offers possibilities for understanding how this ancient wonder was created. Chapter Conclusion. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a challenge to our understanding of ancient capabilities. It demonstrates that people living thousands of years ago could achieve feats of engineering that seem remarkable even by modern standards. Whether we can explain exactly how they did it is almost secondary to the simple fact that they did. Perhaps the greatest lesson of the Great Pyramid is humility. We often assume that our modern civilization represents the peak of human achievement, but the pyramid reminds us that greatness takes many forms. Ancient peoples, working with tools and techniques we may never fully understand, created a monument that has outlasted empires and will likely outlast our own civilization as well. In our next chapter, we journey from Egypt to South America, where another civilization left behind monuments that continue to baffle researchers. The Nazca lines of Peru await us. Stay with us on Mysterious History.
The Nazca Lines, Messages to the Gods. In the coastal desert of southern Peru, spread across nearly 200 square miles of arid plateau, lie the most extraordinary drawings ever created by human hands. The Nazca lines include thousands of straight lines, geometric shapes, and massive figures depicting animals, plants, and mythological beings. Some of these drawings are so large that they can only be fully appreciated from high in the air. Here lies the central mystery. These drawings were created between 1500 and 2000 years ago, centuries before the invention of aircraft. The people who made them could never have seen their creations as we see them today. So why did they make drawings that were seemingly designed to be viewed from the sky? Who were they trying to communicate with? Welcome back to Mysterious History. Today, we explore the Nazca lines and the ancient civilization that created them. The Nazca lines were first brought to international attention in the late 1920s when commercial aircraft began flying over the region. Pilots noticed strange patterns in the desert below and reported what appeared to be primitive landing strips. Upon closer investigation, researchers realized they had discovered something far more significant. The geoglyphs fall into two main categories: straight lines and geometric shapes, and representational figures known as biomorphs. The straight lines number in thousands, some extending for miles across the desert. Many converge on small mounds or appear to point toward specific locations on the horizon. Trapezoids, spirals, and other geometric forms are scattered throughout the landscape. The biomorphs include roughly 70 figures depicting animals and plants. Among the most famous are a hummingbird with a wingspan of over 200 feet, a spider measuring nearly 150 feet long,
a monkey with a coiled tail, and a condor with a wingspan exceeding 400 feet. There are also depictions of fish, lizards, dogs, cats, humans, and various plants. One of the remarkable aspects of the Nazca lines is that they were created using surprisingly simple techniques. The desert surface is covered with reddish pebbles containing iron oxide. By removing these pebbles to expose the lighter ground beneath, the Nazca people created contrasting designs visible from great heights. The lines have remained visible for nearly 2,000 years because of the region's extremely dry, windless climate. The Nazca Desert receives less than 1 inch of rain per year, and the lack of wind means that the exposed lighter ground is not covered by the surrounding darker pebbles. Experiments have shown that creating the lines requires no advanced technology. Using simple stakes, ropes, and planning, small teams of workers could produce even the largest figures. Joe Nickel, a researcher who has studied the lines extensively, demonstrated that the figures could have been created by enlarging smaller designs using a grid system. The Nazca culture flourished in the coastal valleys of southern Peru from approximately 100 BCE to 800 CE. They were preceded by the Paracas culture, which may have begun creating the earliest geoglyphs in the region. The Nazca people were accomplished artists and craftsmen, known especially for their polychrome pottery, which features designs similar to those found in the desert drawings. They were also skilled textile workers, and many of the motifs on Nazca textiles correspond to the geoglyphs. Despite their artistic achievements, the Nazca faced significant challenges. Their environment was harsh, with limited water resources and occasional devastating floods. Archaeological evidence suggests that deforestation may have contributed to environmental degradation, potentially leading to the civilization's eventual decline. The Nazca built an impressive system of underground aqueducts called puquios, some of which still function today. These engineering achievements demonstrate their sophisticated understanding of hydrology and their ability to execute complex projects over many generations. The greatest mystery of the Nazca lines is their purpose. Why did the Nazca people invest enormous time and effort creating drawings that they could not fully see? Various theories have been proposed, each attempting to explain this enigma. One of the most influential researchers of the Nazca lines was Maria Rach, a German mathematician who devoted most of her life to study and preserving the geoglyphs. Rach believed that the lines served an astronomical purpose, functioning as a giant calendar that tracked celestial events important for agriculture. According to this theory, certain lines pointed towards positions on the horizon where the sun, moon, or stars rose or set on significant dates, such as solstices and equinoxes. However, statistical analyses have produced mixed results, with some studies finding no more astronomical alignments than would be expected by chance. More recent research has focused on the connection between the Nazca lines and water. In the arid coastal desert, water was the most precious resource, and much of Nazca culture appears to have centered on water acquisition and management. Many of the lines converge on or point towards sources of water, including rivers and underground aquifers. Some researchers believe that the lines may have been pathways for ritual processions related to water and fertility. By walking the lines, participants may have been symbolically invoking the forces that brought life-giving water to the desert. The animal figures may have also had connections to water and fertility. Many of the depicted creatures, such as the hummingbird, spider, and monkey, come from the rainforest regions to the east, the ultimate source of the rivers that provided water to the coastal valleys. These figures may have represented spirits or deities associated with water and agricultural abundance. The mystery of the Nazca lines has attracted numerous alternative theories, some more plausible than others. Perhaps the most famous was proposed by Swiss author Erich von Däniken, who suggested that the lines were landing strips for extraterrestrial spacecraft. While this theory captured public imagination and contributed to the popularity of the ancient astronaut hypothesis, it has little support from the evidence. The lines are not constructed or oriented in ways that would make sense as landing strips, and the desert surface would not support the weight of aircraft without significant preparation that is not evident. Alternative theories have proposed that the Nazca people possessed hot air balloons or other flying devices that allowed them to view their creations from above. Experiments have demonstrated that simple hot air balloons could theoretically be constructed using materials available to the Nazca, but no direct evidence of such technology has been found. More prosaic explanations suggest that the designs were created for viewing from surrounding hills rather than from directly above, or that the act of creating the lines was more important than the final visual product. The lines may have been offerings to the gods, with their creations serving as a form of devotion regardless of whether they were ever seen as complete designs. The Nazca lines were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994, recognizing their outstanding universal value as evidence of the ancient Nazca culture's beliefs and practices. However, preservation of the lines faces ongoing challenges. Unauthorized access to the lines has caused significant damage over the years. In 2014, Greenpeace activists entered the protected area to place a banner near the hummingbird figure, leaving footprints that damaged the fragile desert surface. In 2018, a truck driver deliberately drove across several of the lines, leaving deep tracks. Climate change poses another threat. Although the region is extremely arid, occasional heavy rains can cause erosion that damages the lines. Rising temperatures may also affect the stability of the desert surface. Efforts to protect and study the lines continue. Modern technology, including satellite imagery and drone surveys, has revealed previously unknown geoglyphs and provided new data for analysis. In recent years, researchers using artificial intelligence have identified numerous new figures that had escaped human observation. The Nazca lines continue to reveal secrets. In 2019, Japanese researchers using artificial intelligence identified over 140 previously unknown geoglyphs in the region. Many of these newly discovered figures are smaller than the well-known lines and depict humans and animals in styles that differ from the classic Nazca designs.
Some of these figures appear to date from the earlier Paracas period, suggesting a longer history of geoglyph creation than previously recognized. Others may represent transition periods between different cultural phases, helping researchers understand how the tradition developed over time. Excavations around the lines have uncovered offerings including pottery, textiles, and food items, providing evidence for the ritual use of the geoglyphs. Some researchers now believe that the lines were used for multiple purposes over many centuries, with their meanings and functions evolving as Nazca culture changed. The Nazca lines remain one of archaeology's great mysteries. Despite decades of study, we still cannot say with certainty why they were created or what they meant to the people who made them. They stand as monuments to the creativity, devotion, and ambition of the ancient Nazca culture. What we can say is that the Nazca lines demonstrate the human capacity for grand visions and patient execution. Creating these geoglyphs required planning, coordination, and sustained effort over many generations. They were not the work of aliens or lost civilizations, but of ordinary humans driven by extraordinary purpose. Perhaps the greatest mystery of the Nazca lines is not how they were made or why, but what they tell us about the human spirit. These ancient people looked at a barren desert and saw a canvas for their dreams. They created images that would endure for millennia, carrying their hopes and beliefs forward to a future they could never have imagined. In our next chapter, we travel to Mesoamerica to explore the achievements of the ancient Maya, one of history's most sophisticated civilizations. Stay with us on Mysterious History.
In the dense jungles of Central America, hidden beneath centuries of growth, lie the ruins of one of the most remarkable civilizations ever to emerge on Earth. The ancient Maya built soaring pyramids, developed a sophisticated writing system, made astronomical observations of astounding accuracy, and created a mathematical system that included the concept of zero centuries before it appeared in the Old World. At its height, Maya civilization supported millions of people in dozens of city-states, each with its own rulers, armies, and alliances. They were master architects, brilliant scientists, and accomplished artists. And then, centuries before the arrival of Europeans, many of their great cities were abandoned to the jungle, their populations dispersed, their civilization transformed. What happened to the Maya? Why did their cities fall? And what secrets might still be hidden in the ruins they left behind? Welcome back to Mysterious History. The Maya occupied a region known today as Mesoamerica, encompassing modern Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, and the Mexican states of Chiapas, Tabasco, Yucatan, Campeche, and Quintana Roo. Evidence of human occupation in this region dates back over 10,000 years, but the distinctive Maya civilization emerged gradually over several millennia. The earliest permanent settlements appeared around 1800 BCE, during what archaeologists call the Preclassic period. These early villages practiced agriculture, cultivating the three sisters of maize, beans, and squash that would sustain Maya civilization for thousands of years. By the late Preclassic period, from about 400 BCE to 250 CE, large-scale construction projects were underway. The site of El Mirador in Guatemala featured massive pyramids that remain among the largest ever built in the ancient world. The Ladanta Pyramid, when including its platform, contains more volume than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The Classic period, spanning from approximately 250 to 900 CE, represents the height of Maya achievement. During this era, powerful city-states competed for dominance through warfare, trade, and diplomatic alliances. Rulers commissioned elaborate building projects to demonstrate their power and connection to the divine. The city of Tikal in Guatemala became one of the largest and most powerful Maya cities, with a population that may have exceeded 100,000 people at its peak. Its massive pyramids, some rising over 200 feet above the jungle floor, dominated the landscape for miles around. Other great cities flourished throughout the Maya world. Palenque, famous for its elegant architecture and the tomb of King Pakal, nestled in the foothills of the Sierra Madre Mountains. Calamucal, Tikal's great rival, controlled vast territories in what is now southern Mexico. Copan, at the southeastern edge of the Maya world, became known for its elaborate sculptural program. Maya science and mathematics, perhaps no aspect of Maya civilization is more impressive than their scientific achievements. The Maya developed a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, tracking the movements of the sun, moon, planets, and stars with remarkable precision. Maya astronomers calculated the length of the solar year to be 365.2420 days, remarkably close to the modern value of 365.2422 days. They determined the length of the lunar month to within minutes of the actual value.
They tracked the cycles of Venus with such accuracy that their observations rival those made with modern instruments. These astronomical calculations were made possible by the Maya mathematical system, which was among the most advanced of the ancient world. The Maya used a vegesimal system based on 20 rather than 10. Most significantly, they independently developed the concept of zero, representing it with a shell-like symbol. This achievement places them among the few cultures in human history to make this crucial mathematical leap. The Maya calendar developed multiple interlocking calendar systems that could track time over vast spans. The calendar round, used for everyday purposes, combined a 260-day sacred calendar with a 365-day solar calendar to create a cycle of approximately 52 years. For recording historical events over longer periods, the Maya used the long count calendar. This system counted days from a mythological starting point, which corresponds to August 11, 3114 BCE in our calendar. The long count could track millions of years into the past and future. The long count Maya attracted worldwide attention as December 21, 2012 approached. This date marked the completion of a major cycle in the long count, and some modern interpretations suggested it might represent an ancient prophecy of global catastrophe or transformation. Scholars of Maya civilization emphasized that the ancient Maya themselves did not predict the end of the world on this date. The completion of a calendar cycle was seen as a time for celebration, not destruction. Nevertheless, the date captured public imagination and brought renewed interest in Maya culture and achievements. Writing and literature, the Maya developed the most sophisticated writing system in the pre-Columbian Americas. Maya hieroglyphic script combined logographic and syllabic elements to record language in a flexible and expressive system. For centuries after the Spanish conquest, the Maya script remained undeciphered. Spanish colonial authorities, viewing Maya religion as demonic, systematically destroyed Maya books and persecuted scribes. Of the thousands of bark paper books that once existed, only 4 survive today, precious windows into Maya thought and knowledge. The breakthrough in decipherment came in the mid-20th century, led by scholars including Yuri Ignorazov, Tatya Priskoryakov, and others. Today, a substantial portion of Maya writing can be read, revealing a rich literary tradition that included historical records, astronomical tables, mythological narratives, and ritual texts. The inscriptions found on monuments throughout the Maya world record the deeds of kings, the outcomes of wars, the performance of rituals, and the cosmic significance of events. They reveal a complex political landscape of competing dynasties, shifting alliances, and constant warfare. Between roughly 800 and 1000 CE, the great cities of the southern Maya lowlands were abandoned. Construction ceased, populations declined, and the jungle gradually reclaimed the monumental centers. This transformation, often called the classic Maya collapse, remains one of archaeology's enduring mysteries. Various theories have been proposed to explain the collapse. Environmental factors certainly played a role. Studies of lake sediments and cave formations suggest that the region experienced severe droughts during this period. At the same time, evidence of deforestation indicates that the Maya may have overexploited their environment, reducing the land's capacity to support large populations. Warfare intensified during the final centuries of the Classic period. Inscriptions record increasingly frequent conflicts, and archaeological evidence shows destruction and abandonment at many sites. Some researchers argue that endemic warfare disrupted trade networks and agricultural production, contributing to societal breakdown. Social and political factors also likely contributed. The elaborate ritual systems that legitimize royal authority may have lost credibility as conditions worsened. Cities that had sustained massive populations may have simply become too complex to maintain under deteriorating circumstances. The Classic period cities' collapse did not mean the end of Maya civilization. In the northern Yucatan Peninsula, cities like Chichen Itza and Uxmal flourished during the terminal Classic and post-Classic period. The famous pyramid known as El Castillo at Chichen Itza dates from this era. At the time of Spanish contact in the 16th century, the Maya were organized into competing states, none of which achieved the power or grandeur of the Classic period kingdoms. Nevertheless, Maya culture remained vital, and resistance to Spanish rule continued for centuries. The last independent Maya kingdom, the Itza of Lake Petén Itza in Guatemala, did not fall to Spanish forces until 1697, nearly 200 years after Columbus reached the Americas. Even after conquest, Maya people maintained their languages, traditions, and identity, passing their heritage from generation to generation. Today, approximately 8 million people speak Maya languages, and Maya communities throughout Mesoamerica continue to practice traditions that connect them to their ancient past. Modern technology is revolutionizing Maya archaeology. LiDAR surveys, which use laser pulses to penetrate jungle canopy and map the ground surface, have revealed extensive settlements, road networks, and agricultural features that were invisible from the ground. In 2018, a massive LiDAR survey covering over 800 square miles of northern Guatemala revealed tens of thousands of previously unknown structures, suggesting that the classic period Maya population was several times larger than previously estimated. Some researchers now suggest that as many as 10 to 15 million people may have lived in the Maya lowlands at the civilization's peak. Ongoing excavations continue to uncover royal tombs, inscriptions, and artifacts that fill in gaps in our knowledge. Each discovery adds to our understanding of this remarkable civilization and occasionally overturns long-held assumptions. The Maya remind us that sophisticated civilizations can arise anywhere and that the human capacity for achievement knows no geographical bounds. They developed mathematics, astronomy, and writing independently, reaching conclusions that parallel those of other great civilizations through their own unique path. The Maya also remind us that all civilizations face challenges, and none are permanent. The great cities that once housed hundreds of thousands now stand empty in the jungle, monuments to both human achievement and human impermanence. In our next chapter, we turn our attention to another mysterious civilization, traveling across the Pacific to explore the enigmatic stone statues of Easter Island. Stay with us on Mysterious History.
In the vastness of the South Pacific Ocean, over 2,000 miles from any major landmass, lies one of the most isolated inhabited places on Earth. Easter Island, known to its inhabitants as Rapa Nui, is a tiny volcanic island barely 14 miles long. Yet this remote speck of land is home to one of archaeology's most enduring mysteries, nearly 900 colossal stone statues that stand as silent witnesses to a vanished past. These statues, called moai, have puzzled visitors since European explorers first encountered them in 1722. How did the ancient inhabitants of this treeless island carve, transport, and erect statues weighing up to 82 tons? Why did they invest such enormous effort in this monumental undertaking? And what catastrophe brought their statue-building culture to an end? Welcome back to Mysterious History. Today, we explore the secrets of Easter Island and its enigmatic moai. Easter Island received its Western name when Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen arrived on Easter Sunday in 1722. The island's indigenous inhabitants call it Rapa Nui, meaning Great Raba, in reference to another Polynesian island. Archaeological and genetic evidence indicates that Polynesian voyagers reached Easter Island sometime between 800 and 1200 CE, though the exact date remains debated. These early settlers arrived by sailing canoe, bringing with them plants, animals, and the cultural traditions of their Polynesian homeland. The settlers found an island that was dramatically different from its current state. Core samples from the island's crater lakes reveal that Rapa Nui was once covered with forests, including extensive stands of a now extinct species of giant palm. These forests provided wood for canoes, fuel, and building materials, and supported a diverse ecosystem of birds and marine life. The moai they have made Easter Island famous are representations of ancestral figures carved from volcanic tuff quarried at a location called Rana Raraku. This volcanic crater served as the island's primary quarry, and over 400 moai remain there in various stages of completion. The statues range in size from around 6 feet to over 30 feet tall, with the largest completed moai weighing approximately 82 tons. One unfinished statue, still attached to the bedrock at Rana Raraku, would have stood nearly 70 feet tall and weighed over 200 tons had it been completed. Most moai share common features: elongated heads, prominent brows, long noses, pursed lips, and elongated ears. They were typically erected on stone platforms called ahu, facing inland toward the communities they protected. Many moai were topped with cylindrical stone headdresses called pukao, carved from red volcanic scoria. The moai were carved using basalt stone picks, a painstaking process that could take teams of workers months or even years for the largest statues. The precision achieved with such simple tools is remarkable, and some statues bear intricate carved designs on their backs. Perhaps no aspect of the moai has generated more debate than the question of how they were transported from the quarry to their final locations, some of which are over 11 miles away. Various theories have been proposed, each with its own merits and problems. Early theories suggested that the statues were moved using wooden sleds or rollers, requiring substantial amounts of timber. This explanation seemed to account for the island's deforestation, suggesting that the inhabitants cut down their forests to move their statues, contributing to ecological collapse. More recently, researchers have proposed that the moai were moved in an upright position, walked to their destinations using a rocking motion. In 2011, researchers demonstrated that a team of 18 people could use ropes to move a replica moai by tilting it back and forth, causing it to advance while remaining upright.
This walking theory aligns with the indigenous oral tradition that the Moai walked to their platforms. It also explains why so many statues along the ancient roads fell face forward or face backward, as would be expected if they had toppled while being walked. The Moai were not created in a cultural vacuum. They represented ancestors, chiefs, and other important figures, embodying a concept called mana, a supernatural power that could influence events and protect communities. By erecting Moai, the Rapa Nui people were channeling the power of their ancestors to benefit the living. The ahu on which the Moai stood served as ceremonial centers and burial sites. Some ahu are massive structures, with precisely fitted stones weighing many tons. The largest, Ahu Tongariki, held 15 Moai and stretches over 300 feet in length. As the Moai tradition developed, the statues grew larger and more elaborate. This escalation may have reflected competition between rival clans, each seeking to demonstrate their power and devotion through increasingly impressive monuments. Some researchers have drawn parallels to an arms race of statue construction. At some point, Moai construction ceased. The statues were toppled, many deliberately pushed face down. The population declined dramatically, and the elaborate cultural traditions that had produced the Moai transformed into something quite different. What caused this collapse? The traditional explanation, popularized by Jared Diamond in his book Collapse, portrays Easter Island as a cautionary tale of environmental destruction. According to this narrative, the islanders cut down their forests to transport Moai, leading to soil erosion, crop failure, and societal breakdown. Recent research has complicated this picture. Studies suggest that the population decline may have been less severe than previously believed, and that environmental degradation occurred more gradually. Introduced Polynesian rats, which ate palm seeds and prevented forest regeneration, may have played a significant role in deforestation. European contact brought additional devastation. Slave raids in the 1860s removed over 1,500 Rapa Nui, and the diseases that arrived with European ships decimated the remaining population. By 1877, only about 1 out of 108 of inhabitants remained. As the Moai tradition declined, a new religious practice emerged, the Birdman cult. Each year, representatives from different clans competed in a dangerous race to collect the first egg of the Sodi tern from the offshore islet of Motu Nui. Competitors had to climb down sheer cliffs, swim through shark-infested waters, scale the cliffs of Motu Nui, and wait for the birds to lay. Once an egg was obtained, the competitor had to return it unbroken to the main island. The clan whose representative succeeded gained status and privileges for the following year. The Birdman cult represented a different approach to social organization, replacing the hereditary power represented by the Moai with an annual competition that could shift status between clans. This system continued until the 19th century when European missionaries suppressed indigenous religious practices. Among Easter Island's other mysteries is rongorongo, a system of glyphs carved on wooden tablets that may represent one of the few independent inventions of writing in human history. Rongorongo inscriptions consist of rows of glyphs depicting humans, animals, plants, and geometric shapes. Whether rongorongo is true writing, capable of recording language, or a proto-writing system used for more limited purposes remains debated. Only about 24 authentic artifacts bearing rongorongo inscriptions survive, as many were destroyed during missionary efforts to eliminate pagan artifacts. Despite decades of study, rongorongo has not been definitively deciphered. If it proves to be true writing developed independently by the Rapa Nui, it would represent one of only a handful of such inventions in human history, alongside the scripts of Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, and Mesoamerica. Today, Easter Island is a Chilean territory with a population of several thousand people, many of whom are descendants of the original Rapa Nui inhabitants. The island depends primarily on tourism, with thousands of visitors arriving annually to see the Moai and experience the unique culture. Conservation efforts seek to preserve and restore the ancient monuments. Some Moai that had fallen have been re-erected on their ahu. Archaeological research continues to reveal new information about the island's past. The Rapa Nui people are working to preserve their language and cultural traditions. The island faces modern challenges including water scarcity, waste management, and the impacts of tourism, but its people remain committed to maintaining their connection to their remarkable heritage. Easter Island has become a symbol in discussions of environmental sustainability and societal collapse. Whether or not the traditional narrative of ecological suicide is accurate in its details, the island raises important questions about the relationship between human societies and their environments. The island also demonstrates the remarkable capabilities of human societies. With limited resources and complete isolation, the Rapa Nui people created one of the world's most distinctive artistic traditions. They solved engineering challenges that continue to impress modern researchers. They developed unique cultural practices adapted to their unusual circumstances. The Moai of Easter Island stand as monuments to human creativity, ambition, and resilience. They remind us that remarkable achievements are possible even in the most challenging circumstances, and that our ancestors were capable of accomplishments that still fill us with wonder. The mysteries of Easter Island continue to inspire research and debate. Each new discovery adds to our understanding while raising new questions. The Moai keep their silence, gazing inland across an island transformed, witnesses to a story we are only beginning to understand. In our next chapter, we travel to England to explore one of Europe's most famous ancient monuments, Stonehenge. Stay with us on Mysterious History.
On the Salisbury Plain in southern England, a circle of massive standing stones has captured human imagination for millennia. Stonehenge is perhaps the most famous prehistoric monument in the world, attracting over 1 million visitors annually. Its iconic silhouette has become a symbol of mystery, ancient wisdom, and the enduring human desire to understand our past. Yet despite centuries of study, fundamental questions about Stonehenge remain unanswered. Who built it? How did they move and erect such enormous stones using only the technology of the Stone Age? And perhaps most intriguingly, why did they build it? What purpose could have driven ancient peoples to invest generations of effort in this monumental undertaking? Welcome back to Mysterious History. Today, we journey to the heart of ancient Britain to explore the secrets of Stonehenge. Stonehenge, as we see it today, represents the final phase of a monument that evolved over approximately 1,500 years. The structure consists of several concentric arrangements of stones and earthworks. The outermost feature is a circular ditch and bank, creating a hinge about 330 feet in diameter. Within this are the remains of the sarsen stone arrangement, consisting of an outer circle of massive upright stones, originally topped by horizontal lintel stones, and an inner horseshoe of even larger trilithons, each comprising 2 uprights and a lintel. The largest sarsen stones weigh over 25 tons and stand nearly 22 feet tall. These gray sandstone blocks were transported from the Marlborough Downs, approximately 25 miles to the north. Within and among the sarsen arrangement are the smaller bluestones, weighing up to 4 tons each. These distinctive rocks came from the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 150 miles away. How and why prehistoric people transported these stones such an enormous distance remains one of Stonehenge's central mysteries. Archaeological evidence reveals that Stonehenge was built in several distinct phases over many centuries. The earliest phase, dating to around 3000 BCE, involved the construction of the circular ditch and bank, along with the 56 Aubrey holes, a ring of pits whose purpose remains unclear. Around 2500 BCE, the bluestones arrived from Wales, though their original arrangement was later modified. Shortly afterward, the massive sarsen stones were erected in the configuration whose remains we see today. This phase represented an enormous investment of labor and resources. Further modifications continued for several centuries. Stones were moved, rearranged, and in some cases removed entirely. The monument continued to be used for ritual purposes well into the Bronze Age, with burials taking place in and around the structure. How did Stone Age people transport such massive stones over such great distances? This question has generated numerous theories, some more plausible than others. For the sarsen stones, the most likely route was overland from the Marlborough Downs. Experiments have shown that large stones can be moved using wooden sledges, rollers, and substantial manpower. One estimate suggests that moving a single sarsen stone would have required over 500 people pulling with ropes. The bluestone transportation presents a greater puzzle. Some researchers believe the stones were transported primarily by water, using rafts along the Welsh coast and then up the rivers of southern England. Others suggest an entirely overland route, potentially following prehistoric trackways. A minority view proposes that glaciers transported the bluestones to the Salisbury Plain during an ice age, and that the builders simply gathered stones that were already available locally. However, geological evidence for glacial transport of this specific type of stone to this specific location remains limited. Recent discoveries have added new dimensions to the transportation question. In 2021, researchers identified the specific quarry sites in Wales from which the bluestones were extracted, revealing that some stones may have been shaped and prepared at the quarry before transportation. Beyond transportation, the engineering achievement of Stonehenge required sophisticated engineering techniques. The sarsen stones were carefully shaped and fitted together, with techniques normally associated with woodworking applied to stone. The horizontal lintel stones were attached to the uprights using mortise and tenon joints, carved directly into the stone. The lintels were also joined to each other using tongue and groove connections. These techniques suggest builders who were highly skilled and experienced with joinery, applying their knowledge to an unprecedented material. The upright stones were set in deep holes, with their bases rammed with smaller stones to keep them stable. The varying heights of the natural ground surface were compensated for by burying the stones to different depths, ensuring that the tops of all the uprights were level. The precision of Stonehenge's layout is also impressive. The monument is aligned to the solstices, with the rising sun on the summer solstice appearing directly over the heel stone when viewed from the center of the circle. Whether this alignment was the primary purpose of the monument or an element of a more complex symbolic system remains debated. What was Stonehenge for? This fundamental question has inspired countless theories, ranging from the scholarly to the outlandish. The astronomical alignment to the solstices suggests that marking these celestial events was significant to the builders.
Some researchers have proposed that Stonehenge functioned as an astronomical observatory or calendar, tracking the movements of the sun and moon over long periods. Archaeological evidence indicates that Stonehenge served as a burial site. Hundreds of burial deposits have been found in and around the monument, some containing creamery remains. Recent analysis suggests that some of these individuals may have come from Wales, potentially accompanying the Bluestones on their journey. The discovery of Durrington Walls, a massive settlement site about 2 miles from Stonehenge, has transformed understanding of how the monument was used. This settlement could have housed thousands of people during seasonal gatherings, suggesting that Stonehenge was a destination for pilgrimage and ceremony. Modern interpretations of Stonehenge often emphasize its role in ritual practice and social cohesion. The monument may have served as a unifying symbol for the diverse communities of prehistoric Britain, a place where people from different regions came together for ceremony and celebration. Some researchers have proposed that Stonehenge was associated with healing. The Bluestones of Wales had long-standing associations with healing properties, and analysis of some individuals buried at Stonehenge suggests they may have been suffering from illness or injury. Could pilgrims have traveled to Stonehenge seeking cures? The connection between Stonehenge and the dead remains central to most interpretations. The monument may have served as a memorial to ancestors, a place where the worlds of the living and dead could meet. The Bluestones, transported from a distant land, may have carried ancestral significance that made the effort worthwhile. Stonehenge does not stand in isolation. The surrounding landscape contains hundreds of burial mounds, monuments, and earthworks dating from the Neolithic and Bronze Age. Understanding Stonehenge requires understanding this broader ceremonial landscape. The avenue, a parallel ditches and banks, connects Stonehenge to the River Avon about 2 miles to the northeast. This processional route may have been used for ceremonies connecting the monument to the wider landscape. Woodhenge, a timber circle located near Durrington Walls, may have represented the world of the living in contrast to Stonehenge's stone representing the dead. The two monuments are aligned along the solstice axis, creating a symbolic connection between the seasonal cycle and the human cycle. The cursus, a long rectangular earthwork predating Stonehenge, extends nearly 2 miles across the landscape. Its purpose is unknown, but it demonstrates that monumental construction in this area began well before the famous stone circle. Archaeological investigation of Stonehenge and its landscape continues to yield new discoveries. Modern technology, including ground-penetrating radar, laser scanning, and genetic analysis, has revolutionized our understanding of the monument. In 2020, researchers announced the discovery of a massive ring of shafts surrounding Durrington Walls, suggesting even more complex ritual activity in the landscape than previously known. Each shaft is approximately 5 meters deep and 10 meters in diameter, representing an enormous investment of labor. Analysis of pig bones from Durrington Walls has revealed that animals were brought from as far away as Scotland for feasting events, demonstrating the geographic reach of the communities that gathered at Stonehenge. The monument was not a local phenomenon, but a national one. Stonehenge remains a place of living significance. Each year, thousands of people gather at the monument to celebrate the summer solstice, watching the sun rise over the ancient stones as it has done for millennia. The monument has inspired artists, writers, and musicians for centuries. Its image is recognized worldwide, a symbol of Britain's prehistoric heritage. It raises questions about what our ancestors believed, what they valued, and what drove them to create enduring monuments. Stonehenge stands as a testament to the capabilities and ambitions of prehistoric people. With simple tools and human labor, they created a monument that has endured for 5,000 years, outlasting empires and civilizations. We may never fully understand why Stonehenge was built or what it meant to its creators, but perhaps that uncertainty is part of its power. The monument invites us to wonder, to imagine, and to connect with a past so distant that it feels almost like another world. In our next chapter, we journey to the Middle East to explore one of history's most intriguing unsolved mysteries, the lost Ark of the Covenant. Stay with us on Mysterious History.
The Ark of the Covenant, Heaven's Lost Treasure. According to ancient texts, it was the most sacred object in human history, a container built to house the very presence of God. The Ark of the Covenant, described in the Hebrew Bible as a gold-covered wooden chest containing the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, possessed supernatural powers that could destroy armies and bring blessings to nations. For centuries, the Ark occupied a central place in the religious life of ancient Israel. It led the Hebrew people through the wilderness, brought down the walls of Jericho, and eventually rested in the Holy of Holies in Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. And then, sometime around the 6th century BCE, it simply vanished from history. What happened to the Ark of the Covenant? Was it destroyed when the Babylonians sacked Jerusalem? Was it hidden away by priests who foresaw the coming destruction? Could it still exist today, waiting to be discovered? Welcome back to Mysterious History. The Book of Exodus provides detailed instructions for the Ark's construction. According to this account, God gave Moses precise specifications during the revelation at Mount Sinai. The ark was to be made from acacia wood, measuring approximately 3 feet 9 inches long, 2 feet 3 inches wide, and 2 feet 3 inches high. The entire chest was to be overlaid with pure gold, inside and out.
A gold molding would run around its rim. 4 gold rings would be attached at the corners, through which gold-covered wooden poles would be inserted for carrying. The ark was so sacred that it was never to be touched directly. Most distinctive was the mercy seat, a solid gold lid featuring 2 cherubim with wings extended toward each other. This was described as the place where God would meet with Moses, the earthly throne of the divine presence. The supernatural light called the Shekinah was believed to dwell between the cherubim. According to biblical narrative, the ark accompanied the Israelites throughout their 40 years of wilderness wandering. It was carried before the people as they traveled and placed in the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary, when they encamped. The most dramatic accounts of the ark's power come from the conquest of Canaan. When the priests carrying the ark stepped into the Jordan River, the waters parted to allow the people to cross. At Jericho, the ark was carried around the city walls for 7 days before the walls collapsed. After the conquest, the ark resided at various locations before being captured by the Philistines. According to the book of Samuel, the ark brought plagues upon the Philistine cities until it was returned to Israel, accompanied by guilt offerings of gold. King David eventually brought the ark to Jerusalem with great celebration. His son Solomon constructed the magnificent temple specifically to house it, placing it in the innermost chamber known as the Holy of Holies. For several centuries, the ark resided in this sacred space, accessible only to the high priest on one day each year. The ark's fate becomes uncertain as the biblical record continues. The last explicit mention of its location comes during the reign of King Josiah, around 622 BCE, who ordered the priests to return the ark to the temple, suggesting it may have been temporarily removed. In 586 BCE, the Babylonian army under King Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Jerusalem and Solomon's temple. The Book of Kings describes the Babylonians carrying off temple treasures, listing various gold and bronze implements, but significantly does not mention the ark. This silence has generated endless speculation. If the Babylonians had captured the most sacred object of Israelite religion, surely they would have recorded such a triumph. The absence of any mention suggests the ark may have already been removed, hidden, or destroyed before the Babylonians arrived. The second temple, built after the Babylonian exile ended, did not contain the ark. When the Romans destroyed this temple in 70 CE, the Arch of Titus, which depicts the temple's treasures being carried off, shows the menorah and other objects but not the ark. Numerous theories attempt to explain what happened to the ark and where it might be today. Each has its advocates and its problems. One theory suggests the ark was hidden by priests who anticipated the Babylonian destruction. According to some versions, it was concealed in a chamber beneath the Temple Mount, where it remains to this day. Excavation at this site is essentially impossible due to its political and religious sensitivity. The Book of 2 Maccabees, written in the 2nd century BCE, records a tradition that the prophet Jeremiah hid the ark in a cave on Mount Nebo before the Babylonian invasion. According to this account, Jeremiah sealed the cave and declared that the location would remain unknown until God gathered his people together again. Another prominent theory locates the ark in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church claims to possess the ark, housed in a chamber in the city of Axum. According to Ethiopian tradition, the ark was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Only one guardian monk is permitted to see the object, and no outside verification has ever been allowed. Over the centuries, the ark has been sought in locations around the world. Some have looked in Egypt, suggesting that Pharaoh Shishak may have taken it when he invaded Jerusalem around 925 BCE. Others have proposed Zimbabwe, South Africa, and various European locations. The Knights Templar have been linked to ark speculation since the Crusades. Some theories suggest the Templars discovered the ark during their occupation of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem and transported it to Europe. Possible hiding places include Chartres Cathedral in France, Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, and various locations associated with Templar history. More recently, explorer Ron Wyatt claimed to have discovered the ark in a cave beneath the crucifixion site in Jerusalem in the 1980s. According to Wyatt, the blood of Jesus had dripped onto the mercy seat through a crack in the rock. These claims have been widely dismissed by archaeologists and are not supported by verifiable evidence. Professional archaeologists have generally been skeptical of ark hunting expeditions. The lack of reliable historical information about the ark's fate, combined with the political sensitivity surrounding the Temple Mount, makes systematic investigation extremely difficult. The Temple Mount remains one of the most contested pieces of real estate in the world. Any excavation beneath the Al-Aqsa Mosque and Dome of the Rock would be politically explosive. Limited archaeological work in the area has not produced evidence of the ark or any underground chambers that might contain it. Searches in other proposed locations have similarly failed to produce convincing results. The Ethiopian church's claim remains unverifiable, and attempts to locate Jeremiah's cave on Mount Nebo have not succeeded. Why does the ark continue to captivate imagination over 2.5 millennia after its disappearance? The answer lies in its profound symbolic significance. For Judaism, the ark represents the covenant relationship between God and the Jewish people, the physical embodiment of divine promise and presence. Its recovery would have enormous religious implications, potentially signaling messianic events. For Christianity, the ark has been interpreted as a type or foreshadowing of various New Testament concepts, including Jesus Christ himself and the Virgin Mary. Some traditions view the search for the ark as connected to end-times prophecy. The ark has also become a powerful symbol in popular culture. The 1981 film Raiders of the Lost Ark brought the ark to worldwide popular attention, inspiring renewed interest in the historical mystery. The image of the ark with its winged cherubim and mysterious powers continues to fascinate. Despite repeated failures, the search for the ark continues. Amateur archaeologists, religious enthusiasts, and adventurers regularly claim new discoveries or propose new theories about its location. Modern technology offers new possibilities for investigation. Ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR, and other remote sensing techniques could potentially reveal hidden chambers or structures without requiring excavation. However, access to the most promising sites remains restricted. Some scholars argue that the physical ark no longer exists, destroyed by the Babylonians or deteriorated over time. They suggest that the search for a physical object misses the point, that the ark's significance lies in what it represents rather than in any surviving artifact.
Underwater civilizations, secrets beneath the waves. "70% of Earth's surface lies beneath water, and throughout history, rising sea levels have swallowed countless human settlements. Ancient ports, cities, and temples that once stood proudly above the waves now rest in darkness on the ocean floor, their secrets preserved by the very element that destroyed them. In recent decades, underwater archaeology has revealed astonishing discoveries. Entire cities submerged off the coasts of Egypt and India, mysterious structures beneath the waters of Japan and the Caribbean, and evidence that human civilization may be far older than conventional history acknowledges. What secrets lie beneath the world's oceans and seas? What civilizations have been lost to the waters? Welcome back to Mysterious History, where today we dive beneath the surface to explore the evidence of underwater civilizations. To understand underwater archaeology, we must first understand sea level history. At the end of the last ice age, approximately 12,000 years ago, sea levels were over 300 feet lower than they are today. The world's coastlines looked dramatically different, with vast areas now underwater that were once dry land. The Persian Gulf was a fertile river valley. The North Sea was traversable on foot. India extended far beyond its current southern coast. As the glaciers melted over several thousand years, these lands were gradually inundated, forcing human populations to migrate and adapt. Any coastal settlements that existed during this period would now lie underwater, potentially preserved beneath layers of sediment. The possibility that advanced civilizations existed during or before this period and were destroyed by rising seas forms the basis of many underwater archaeology theories. Off the coast of Gujarat in northwestern India lie the underwater ruins of what may be the ancient city of Dwarka, legendary capital of the deity Krishna. According to Hindu tradition, Dwarka was a magnificent golden city that sank beneath the sea after Krishna's death. Archaeological surveys beginning in the 1980s discovered underwater structures at two significant depths. At depths of around 20 to 30 feet, researchers found architectural remains dating to the medieval period, but at greater depths they found what appeared to be much older structures. In 2001, researchers using side-scan sonar discovered rectangular structures and geometric patterns at depths of over 120 feet in the Gulf of Cambay, not far from Dwarka. These findings suggested the possibility of very ancient settlement, potentially dating back to before the last rise in sea levels.